I've got a busy day. Just a little committee discussion before we bring in our first group. Want to talk about how we are lining things up in our miscellaneous bill. Several of you, Senator Plunkett as well. But other conversations, I apologize. I think you've always spoke to me this way, but I just kind of remember Senator Plunkett's question is, how are we lining up like on the first section lines, sections 1 through 3? There's a lot of information there. So we're bringing in some more stuff to try to just solidify this section 1 through 3. Are we going to be able to satisfy all the different groups in there that we have? Well, I don't know. I hope that we can. I think we're pretty much all in alignment where we're at. But I know this, we have the trust of many people, as we're hearing that they're coming in from our committees. What I want the most is for the committee to come up with what they're comfortable with. And we'll start, picking that off as far as that. This will go, we have a very large village, but it will go a lot faster than what you do, what it will. If we can't get the witnesses in, we want to get witnesses in. Anybody who wants to come in, we want to get them in. But if we can't get them in, I think that we have the trust of the farm community to make the right decision. We're hearing that over and over and over again that they like what we do. So again, I want us to work really, really hard to get witnesses in on specific groups of topics that we have. There's 17 of them. Just have a good memory, take good notes. I'm not going to try to be jumping around over and over and over again. What I'd like to do is, as we go down through these sections and we get clarity of where our thought process is, start to be working on language. And it might change. It will change. It definitely will. But we are in the process now of starting to get this bill into ready for law form. So as we go down through, ask the hard questions, get the witnesses in. If you're unsure about something, let me know. Let us know. We work very, very well together. All of us, we all add something to it. But it's time to get time to get some language started, which is the point of what I'm talking about. Anything about that? Everybody good with that? Okay, everybody like that plan? Okay, so you guys know that if you don't, you know what, you guys all know what to do, right? Okay. The second thing is that we are beholden to all of the state, all of the public. Anybody who wants to come in here that has subject matter that is ag related, is who we listen to and want to listen to, and we want all voices heard. With that being said, I'm going to start to restrict a little bit as far as not in such a way that somebody's not going to get in, because that is not what we do. But I'm going to be centric on what we have in front of us. So I'm going to try to be filling those dates up again. Let's talk with Linda like you guys do. Let's get our witnesses in here. Let's get them lined up. Let's not be the committee that calls a witness the night before at 10 o'clock and say, hey, can you come in tomorrow? Let's set this up thoughtfully. Let's get all sides and let all voices heard. And, like what we have today, we have 3 squares awareness coming in. So we're going to still keep on talking to everybody who wants to talk to us, but we're going to be a little bit more heavy on what we have in front of us. Everybody cool with that?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah. Any other thoughts about any of that as we any of that? Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so let's start our day. We're gonna start the day today with 3 squares awareness. We are very, very important group of people who feed the most vulnerable in our communities. As you guys, as we are very well aware, and as they are very well aware, Vermont is very focused on growing their own food. Everything we talk about, everything that we are looking forward. I know one of the things that we're most passionate about, or starting to be very passionate about, is making sure that our farmland stays in production so that we can feed our people. And that we're very fortunate that we have organizations out there that are good at getting product to the communities. And I don't really see their role diminishing in any way. Unfortunately, in food insecurity is a topic that we are going to talk about for the rest of our lives into infinity. But I think we're getting better at it, and we're getting better at it because of the people that we're going to talk to today. So, John, are you leading off, or who wants to lead off?
Okay. I will.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you, Chair Ingalls and committee members for having us today for Three Squares Vermont Awareness Day. As you know, and for the record, my name is Joanna Doran. I live in Winooski, and I'm the Local Food Access Director with NOFA Vermont. I'm here today with partners, farmers, and neighbors to talk about Three Squares Vermont, to acknowledge this essential program, and to ask for your support on requests that together will ensure the best outcomes for Vermonters, our community, our farmers, and our economy. So we have 3 requests today. One is support NOFA Vermont's request for $500,000 in ongoing support to strengthen Vermont farm viability and support food security by sustaining proven programs, Crop Cash Plus, and Farm Share. Support the Vermont Food Bank's request for a $5 million total appropriation in FY27, including $2 million to support their network of partners, $2 million for the Vermonters Feeding Vermonters program, and $1 million for Ready Response to ensure food access in disasters and emergencies, and fund the necessary administrative costs to operate the Three Squares Vermont program in our state to counter federal funding changes. Full funding for Three Squares Vermont administration is critical to keep this program available for all who are eligible. So first, I want to share some background on Three Squares Vermont and how it impacts Vermonters and farmers. Three Squares Vermont is known nationally as SNAP, and in many households across the state, it's also known as a lifeline. By choosing the name Three Squares Vermont, Vermont made a commitment to the goal of having 3 square meals for everyone every day. This federal nutrition program is operated on behalf of the federal government by state agencies, is the most effective and efficient federal nutrition program because it provides funds directly to people every month to buy groceries through traditional channels like grocery stores and general stores, and also farmers markets, farm stands, and CSAs. Three Squares Vermont helps nearly 10% of our state buy groceries every month. That's approximately 63,400 people, the vast majority of whom are children, older adults, and people with disabilities. In order to get Three Squares benefits each month, people have to complete a lengthy application process, provide verification about their income, expenses, and other details, complete an interview, and be found eligible by the Department of Children and Families Economic Services Division. This program is meant to support grocery costs for low-income individuals, and people have to be below a certain income limit, and based on how many people are in their household and share food costs. So, for example, a single mom with 2 kids would be a household of 3, and they would need to earn less than $4,100 a month to qualify, or $49,000 a year. For most households, benefits are issued on an EBT card that works just like a debit card. These can be used at over 600 retailers in Vermont, including 40 farmers markets and many farm stands and CSAs. These benefits flow directly into our state economy when people buy groceries with these dollars. So in a given month, Three Squares Vermont keeps more than $12 million in our state economy. This makes Three Squares Vermont not only our most effective security program, but it's truly an essential economic stimulus program. In rural areas, that spending often determines whether a small business can keep its stores open or not. In the first half of this state's fiscal year, over $150,000 in Three Squares Vermont benefits were spent at farmers markets alone. And programs like Crop Cash and Crop Cash Plus can help extend the impact of this benefit by providing an additional incentive for people to spend their benefits at farmers markets and with their local farmers. And by the same token, that provides additional income for our farmers as well. So for the over 63,000 Vermonters who rely on Three Squares every month to buy groceries, and the 600 plus retailers and farmers who depend on these funds to support their business, this program is essential. It is dignified, private, and incredibly efficient to support hardworking Vermonters, older adults, veterans, children, people with disabilities, so they have the food they need. While Three Squares Vermont effectively reaches the most low-income folks in Vermont, we know that the program only reaches roughly 40% of those eligible in the state, according to census data. There are a number of reasons for this discrepancy, including additional eligibility requirements and the burdensome application process. This is one of the many reasons why having trained and trusted benefit assisters at organizations across Vermont is so important, so that people can access this program and get the support they need. Another recent example of why this discrepancy exists is because we saw the largest funding and eligibility changes in the SNAP program in the history of the program with the passage of HR 1 in July 2025. There were three major changes in the SNAP eligibility program, which has already impacted our communities in serious ways. So first, far fewer people who are immigrants can access SNAP, including refugees and people granted asylum. Second, more people have to report information about their work or volunteer activity in order to keep accessing benefits for more than 3 months in a 3-year period. So veteran people experiencing homelessness and people who have aged out of foster care are no longer automatically exempt from this rule. And people with kids 14 and older are newly subject to this rule. This is confusing for households who were otherwise eligible for the program and may not know how to report that information to the state. And finally, more people have to report information about whether they pay for heating, cooling, or risk losing a portion of their monthly benefits. These changes, in effect, make it more challenging for lower income folks to tap into this important grocery support. Not only did our state agency have to work hard to understand and implement these changes, but service providers had to quickly communicate these changes to community members. And while we must keep Three Squares Vermont available to the tens of thousands of Vermonters who tap into this program to afford groceries, we also must ensure that people who have lost eligibility to the program or have never been eligible can access other programs, including those within the charitable food system.
Yeah, Jeff, is it okay if I ask questions now, so what is the mechanism by which you are alerting these people who were on SNAP that are no longer on SNAP of the administration and how to fill out the I guess it's online now or paperwork. What's the mechanism and the logistics of it?
For the detailed answer, I would refer to our state agency partners with the Department of Children and Families. I know that there's a lot of communication that goes out through mail to recipients, and the benefits assisters folks at the Vermont Food Bank and other organizations across the state support people in signing up for the program and can communicate those changes as well. So we can follow up with that.
So you're looking over there, so if we can have an answer, that'd be great.
Sure. Hi, I'm Leslie Wisdom. I'm the Three Squares Vermont director.
I am going to, and I apologize for this. Is there any way that we can pull up another chair just so you could be on camera as well? So everyone that is watching at home, like, absolutely see.
Oh, that's it. Good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
I'm Leslie Wisdom with Economic Services Division with Department for Children and Families, and I am the director of the Three Squares Vermont. So are you asking about all the federal changes that have happened that have impacted how?
How are we communicating that to the people that, are no longer, well, I'm not saying they're not eligible, but we've kicked them off.
Right, well, there's different reasons people can lose eligibility, but we definitely send a notice of decision for any impacted household who might be either their benefit reduced or they lost eligibility with a detailed reason. Information about how to call the department if they have questions. We also have a network of outreach providers, community partners who can assist in answering questions, but all households are notified if they're impacted.
Is the admin and applying now much more than they have in the past? And is the proof of whatever the proof is more detailed?
The process for applying hasn't changed. The rules have changed with the changes in federal law. If you mentioned a lengthy application, it's about a 15-page application to apply for SNAP, the SNAP program.
What was it before?
It's still 15.
Okay.
Where are we, I wanna flesh that out a little bit more, where Senator Major's going with this, I think, where he's going with it. Are we losing people? Are we getting people out of this program because of federal dollars, or what's going on with all of that stuff? Give us the understanding of where we're at.
There have been households impacted by the change in federal law, not the change in the funding, but the change in the rules. Johanna mentioned refugees and asylees. There are some non-citizens who are no longer eligible for the program. There are changes to how their shelter costs are calculated, which have resulted in a few households losing or reducing eligibility. And then work requirement changes will impact households at the end of this month for those who aren't currently meeting the work requirement or have an exemption.
Is that, are we able to overcome those changes through our state, as far as with what we're doing? Are we doing that?
We have reached out to households who are impacted by these changes. We are working on a campaign this month for the impacted households starting March 1st with work requirements, hoping to reach those who we haven't yet reached. And we do expect when people get a closure notice effective March 1st, that sometimes is the reason that they call us and report whether they're working or they may have an exemption.
How is our privacy to those folks that we're dealing with, as far as with what we have to disclose or not disclose? How are we protecting these people?
We do not share their information with anyone else. Their privacy is protected.
And their policy or national policy?
Federal and state.
Okay.
And they've either volunteered or showed that they're have a job.
Yes, they can. There's a combination of ways to meet the work requirement. You can be employed or volunteering or in the education or training program for 80 hours per month. You can also volunteer with a public or private nonprofit. It's a complicated calculation, but it's based on your monthly benefit amount divided by Vermont's minimum wage. So, for example, a single household of one with a maximum benefit would have to volunteer about 21 hours per month to meet that volunteer requirement. And there's many ways to be exempt. Folks on unemployment, women who are pregnant are exempt. Disability, medical reasons. There's many exemptions.
And how's the reception been to this? Have you been getting a lot of this is BS or okay, I can do it? That's plain question.
It's hard to implement policy that restricts eligibility. I don't have any information similar to what you're asking. We will start to see the first people losing benefits at the end of this month, and so happy to report back on that.
You're good.
Yeah, so in that last I think is probably the most important, because you wouldn't have any data, because we haven't seen it yet. And who is or isn't, so, probably was unfair for me to ask a question at the beginning.
Oh, I'm happy to, for you asking.
Yeah, thank
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Glad you could. I'll just close my testimony, but before we move on to others, to say that food security is a policy choice, and Three Squares Vermont is an essential part of the pathway to supporting households while we work together to achieve food security in Vermont. The message we want to convey to you is that together we can work to ensure that everyone in Vermont gets the food that they need when they need it. And that farmers are supported in this as well. Legislators have a critical role to play in making policy decisions that ensure the best outcome for Vermonters. So we are again asking for 3 requests today.
You go on those requests one more
I
time.
will.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking. One is to support NOFA Vermont's request for $500,000 in ongoing funding to support the Crop Cash Plus and Farm Share programs.
Has the governor put any monies into that program?
It does not appear that the governor's budget that money.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask everyone that you said, so.
Support the Vermont Food Bank's request for $5 million and the total appropriation for FY 27, including $2 million for support for their network partners, $2 million for Vermonters feeding Vermonters, and $1 million for Ready for Response.
Did we support that last year? Did you get funding last year?
I will defer to John about the amount, but I do believe so.
Just quickly, John Sales, from the Vermont Food Bank, they fear Montpelier. Last year, the legislature appropriated $500,000 for Vermonters feeding Vermonters.
Right.
And, I don't believe there's anything in the governor's budget, although we did have that conversation with them as they were putting the budget together.
And I think we were able to help the crop casting.
Yes, this committee was instrumental in funding
Both
Crop
the crop
Cash
cash and
and-
crop cash flood.
exactly
With one-time
for $450,000 in one-time funding, which has been huge. And after I close, I would love to pass it off to Jamie, who is going to talk about the impact Crop Cash Plus has had on their farm. But first, the final of the 3 requests today is to fund the necessary administration costs to counter federal funding changes to support the administration of the Three Squares Vermont program.
How much is that?
That is a number that I think is still being finalized, but we will get back to
Yes, if you could get back with Senator Major with those numbers, and that number is very critical.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not too late, but it's not too early.
that. Yeah.
So, yes,
And also with that, the administrative costs, if there's any sort of calculation that can suggest that $1 in administrative costs leads to X number of dollars coming in state for use, that would be helpful, because we talked a lot about this being sort of multiplier. We had that sort of multiplier to help a lot.
Yeah, thanks for that question. We'll try to get that information to you.
And just the reason for that, I think, look, for a committee, we want to fund, obviously, everything that's important, but we also have to sell it. And,
we do have to sell it.
yeah. And, I don't think it's any secret that, every penny is being looked at. And to a 30,000 foot view,
Right.
is, our total budget is over $9 billion. $3 billion of that is federal. And so when you look at that, we go and ask that if there's some return on investment to Senator Plunkett's comment that helps us. And so,
Yes, yeah, and we will prepare you as best we can to make that argument. We know that, when we invest in administrative costs for this program, that means more people can stay on benefits, which means they can spend those dollars in the Vermont economy, which means, farms have that income, rural grocery stores have that income and can stay open. So it does have a very large ripple effect.
We're not a money committee, we're a policy committee, and three of us, serve on a money committee, I think in Melbourne. And so three of us serve on a money committee, and it's certainly a lot easier when you do have monies in front of you. So we, as Senator Major did say it so correctly, we have to go and become advocates, just like you are. And, we're very lucky that we're very diverse throughout the building. So, yeah, so, like I said, it's not too late, but it's getting late. We can see the door closing.
Well, we'll get that number to you before the door closes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And if it's all right, I would love for Jamie.
Well, you're driving the ship.
Thanks, John.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here. My name is Jamie Sky Bianco, and I'm the owner and the sole operator of, at least for 2 more weeks, of Ramble Bramble Farm. I'm here testifying in support of $500,000 that Joanna mentioned in ongoing funding for Crop Cash Plus, and Farm Share. But I'm going to specifically talk about how Crop Cash Plus has impacted my farm and its growth. Just a little background, Ramble Bramble sits on 136 acres at the top of the mountains just south of Camel's Hump in the southernmost part of Huntington. I'm a Vermont organic farmer, certified organic protein producer. I raise sheep, goats, and chickens, particularly eggs. And I'm also a sourdough and focaccia baker. I sell primarily in farmers markets in the area around me, including Burlington, Winooski, Jericho, Richmond, and Middlebury. And I also wholesale to other producers, farmers and farm stores, including Trillium Hill, Last Resort, wholesale to small groceries like Jubilee and Fifth Quarter in Warren, and restaurants like Ida Pizza Pies that are epically known in our area. I am committed as a farmer to producing the cleanest, most nutritious food possible, and my customers have come to expect that from my brand. I have a lot of communication around my practices, which are labor intensive and expensive in terms of farming. And this has historically made clean, nutritionally dense food inaccessible to many folks due to the cost of production. And despite the expense that's involved in production and delivery, Crop Cash Plus has enabled more customers to afford my products. I'm very proud to share that 30% of my lamb and goat meat sales and 20% of my sourdough and focaccia bread sales come in through customers who are paying with Crop Cash Plus. I have a lot of conversations with my customers, and in fact, I always make a point to thank them for choosing to use their benefits at a farmer's market to support farms. And few of the folks that I work with are new Americans, so I really want to stress that most who are purchasing are not constituents of the refugee and asylum programs that you were mentioning earlier, or what we constantly refer to as ethnic markets for lamb and goat. These are people who are purchasing my meat because they prefer organic sheep and goat and want nutritious food. And I can share with you, I'll give you an example in a moment, that they're very consciously choosing to support the market, the farmers, and their own health and well-being. I had a conversation about 2 months ago with one very regular customer in Winooski. And a lot of my customers in Winooski express or demonstrate disability. And so there's a lot of conversation around accessibility to the market and accessibility to food, including grocery. And this customer came and let me know during the federal withholding of SNAP benefits that he had visited the local food pantry. And he told me that he was specifically hoarding, that was his word, Crop Cash Plus for meat because the pantry had limited protein options. And this was very important for his specific health needs and his diet. And I can't begin to say enough how important it is for these folks to have the support of this program in order to access high quality eggs and high quality meat. How important it is to have accessibility to quality food to the disabled. And most of them have children who I also meet and chat with at the market. They want clean and nutritious food. And because I also bake bread, they refer to me as the Little Farmer Grocery. And I find that incredibly accurate, but also uplifting, especially on hard days here on the farm. It goes without saying that a high percentage of sales being supported by Crop Cash Plus as a farmer and as a small business, I am hugely invested as a partner in this program. And I want to say that given this past year's sales, which I've just gotten done going through, there's a huge growth in sales. And because of that, I'm taking on a part-time person in 2 weeks. That's what I was referring to earlier. And in 2026, and also increasing the number of animals that I'm raising and have bred for this season. Because I have a tiny little apartment over one of my shop buildings, I'm able to offer housing to this person who's coming on the farm as well. And my hope is to be able to grow the farm over the next year enough to support this position full time. This increase in growth of the farm and farm employment is a direct result of the growth in sales represented here, and because the demand specifically for goat meat has skyrocketed. And this growth is a direct result of increased sales supported by the food accessibility programs. That has been the big shift in the last year to 2 years in my sales. The farm works with various agencies that support rotational grazing and sustainability and conservation practices on the land. But fundamentally, the ability to grow my farm is directly dependent upon who's buying my meat, eggs, and bread. I cannot urge you strongly enough to support this $500,000 for Crop Cash Plus, and Farm Share in the fiscal year 27 budget. This is going to be the engine for growth for small farms as well as food accessibility. And it is the ethically right thing to do to feed people nutritionally dense, locally grown, and locally owned food and farm enterprises. Thank you so much for having me. This is a pleasure. I wish I could have been there in person, but I had chores this morning. Thank you.
Jamie, thank you. You were exactly part of who we believe is going to keep agriculture viable in the state of Vermont. We don't start out as large farm operations. We start out as small operations that grow. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Who's next?
Sure.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for taking the time to hear my story. Thank you for being patient. Okay, so thank you so much for taking the time to hear about my story. My name is Sarah Dias. I am the founder and owning member of Giant Journey Farm in Newfane, Vermont. I am also a Three Squares Vermont recipient. Our family is a Three Squares family. I'm here today to talk about Three Squares Vermont and to ask you to fund the full slate of food resiliency requests that the Vermont Food Bank, NOFA Vermont, and Hunger Free Vermont are asking for today. My family runs a 2-acre organic regenerative no-till farm and depends on Three Squares Vermont, SNAP benefits, and other programs to eat and live. Our farm started as an average CSA farm, but we quickly realized our neighbors couldn't afford it. Knowing how hard we work, that we can't even afford our own food, it made it harder and harder to make the ask. We tried sliding scales, trade and barter, simply charging less in order to feed our community. It was painful, it was demoralizing, and it was unsustainable. Now we feed dozens more families this season and are paid a fair price. We do this by participating in programs like NOFA's Farm Share, Senior Farm Share, serving our local food shelf in Townsend, partnering with community food projects like Brattleboro's Moonscape Farm, and accepting Three Squares Vermont on our farm. These programs all depend on the funding before you today. Our farm, our family, is held by the incredible community we've become a part of. When I deliver raspberries and cabbage to the community food project, I take home grass-fed whole milk from Miller Farm, a thing my children would never taste without the network that we have helped build each week. It's a truly terrifying time to be alive, more so each waking day.
But our local food system and what it stands for keeps me getting up to feed the chickens every morning. Boy, it's been cool. And indeed to speak with you here today. Every Vermonter seeking or receiving food support of any kind feels a level of insecurity or outright scarcity that dominates their decisions about food. In my experience, as a recipient and as somebody who takes Three Squares on their farm, SNAP recipients don't use their benefits on CSA shares or at a farmer's market without the added support of NOFA Farm Share or Crop Cash and Crop Cash Plus, because access to food becomes a numbers game. The most calories for the lowest price. That rarely allows fresh, local, nutrient-dense food to be a choice. Sometimes Veggie Van Go or a local food shelf, when they have it, it is the only way that people are accessing fresh produce. I hear regularly that folks are so excited when they receive our food that the snap peas, cherry tomatoes, and strawberries don't even make it back to their house. They just gobble it up in the car. I imagine those gleeful car rides home with pride, but also a deep sense of grief. The bottom line here is that funding the complete slate of the food security roadmap to 2035 allows our community food systems to function exactly as they should. A full web of resilient and interconnected relationships in which all members of our society benefit from food sovereignty. Low-income Vermonters and small farms depend on each other and on the incredible web of support that the food bank and other stakeholders have developed. That dependency isn't a shortfall, it's a strength. At the end of the day, you all have a tremendous gift to give. Budgets are moral documents. And you get to say, in our brave little state, foods that were once relegated to poor people, nutrient-dense staples like carrots and fresh greens, won't be allowed to become status symbols. By doing so, you simultaneously affirm we support our farms, not in branded image, but where it counts. Thank you for your time today and for each moment that you spent considering the resources needed to sustain food resilience in your community.
Thank you. Ready?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you mentioned senior farm share.
Yeah.
Is that a completely separate program from farm share?
Yeah, so it's similar to Farm Share, but what happens is that, like for example, in Townsend, we have Valley Cares.
Okay,
It's a senior living facility,
okay,
like an assisted living facility. And the folks in that facility, when they sign up for the senior share program through NOFA, they get like a mini share because it's just like one, whole
Okay.
person. They just get like, I don't know, $10 worth of produce a week. And it just goes for like 5 or 6 weeks. So it's just like another type of like CSA share, but just like smaller, and it's specifically for people who are in assisted living facilities. The fun thing about that program is that when we were part of that program, we actually went to the assisted living facility and like met those
Okay.
folks,
Yeah.
and really like it was another way to build relationships, because a lot of time in those assisted living facilities, like, they're like don't have a lot of contact with folks often, and so it was like another great way for them to be like, whoa, these people in the town right next to where I live, where I've lived my whole life, are growing the food that I'm eating. They're growing the raspberries and the onions and all of the stuff that I'm eating. And so it's really nice to like show them pictures and kind of just like get to know them a bit.
And you mentioned a 2-acre farm?
Yep.
So what are you growing on it?
We do a full slate of like diversified vegetables. We also do berries. We do eggs and meat. We have chickens and rabbits for
Oh.
meat.
All on 2 acres.
Yes, you can do an incredible amount on a very small amount of space. It's one of the things that our farm sort of specializes in, is making sure that people understand that we need to grow food wherever we are. Our farm, it's like in the middle of the forest. It's all slopey. There's rocks everywhere. It's not really what people would consider like
Prime
prime
land.
agricultural land. It's like not what people would consider arable,
Yeah.
but it's like part of our mission to show people that you can grow food right where you are. And it's going to be critical for resilience. Looking at our future. for people to understand that we need to grow food right where we are.
Are you doing, I'm sorry, there's a method to the madness of the question I'm gonna
Yeah.
ask. It's very important to our business as
Yeah.
far as what we're shaping. And there, are you doing better than $2,000 a year in sales?
Yes, we are.
More than 5?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's very, very important. to us.
Good
Thank you.
question.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if we were to ask that question, what would you think would be a good number to hit for? Because it's 2,000 right now, do you keep it there or raise it a little bit due to inflation and?
I am so glad you guys are asking me this because I was really hoping to be able to testify for the right to grow food. I'm a board member with Nova Vermont as well. With Rural Vermont as well. It's really important to me that it stays at $2,000 because you just heard from Jamie as well, who's just starting up. Farms who are just starting up can't get into the game if they can't access.
Right, let's stop you for a second. Jamie, are you between $2,000 and $5,000 in sales a year?
I'm higher than that.
Thank you. Very important.
But I didn't start out over 2,000.
No, we get that.
Right,
We
I
do.
didn't start out over 5,000.
So we're gonna move on. Apologize, we just got a lot of people here that we want to get in here and we want to thank you
Great.
very, very, very much.
Yeah,
Very
thank you
much.
so
Yes,
much.
thank you. Who's next?
Since me,
Welcome, John. I didn't know if you were back to clean up or where you were gonna be and then.
no, not quite. John Sales, again, for the record, CEO of Vermont Food Bank out of here in Montpelier. Joanna did a great job of talking all about Three Squares Vermont and the ask, so I'm not going to repeat that because I want to get to our guests also.
Thank you for that.
I will reiterate that the legislature and the state to make policy choices that would create food security in Vermont. We're part of the Vermont Food Security Coalition, which is making the roadmap happen. You know, that is the food bank, it's NOFA, it's the Intervale, Struggle Free Vermont, Feeding the Valley Alliance, the Land Access Opportunity Board, and the Sustainable Jobs Fund. And we're bringing on more partners and allies to really make this roadmap a reality. So I know we've talked about this last year and we're excited to be back and talking about it. Joanna talked all about Three Squares and I just want to emphasize that Three Squares is not enough. There are people who aren't qualified for it, who still can't.
That's
make
why I was
it.
hoping that you would talk about a
Yeah.
little bit about, again, what Senator Major started down that question line about the people who have fallen through the cracks.
Yeah. So there are people who don't qualify for Three Squares Vermont, but still can't make those ends meet. Food insecurity is financial insecurity, right? There's plenty of food in the grocery stores, just that people are making choices in their daily lives about where the resources they have go. So the Vermont Food Bank serves around 70,000 people a month. And that's from reports that we get from the numbers we serve at our Veggie Van Go's around the state and the reports we get from our 230 plus food shelf meal site partners in every town in Vermont. A lot of those are the same people because we know that Three Squares Vermont benefits do not last a whole month. They're not meant to be the entire food budget of a family. So there is a lot of overlap there, but we're serving more people than get Three Squares Vermont. Last year, you helped pass the Vermonters Feeding Vermonters program. Thank you very much for that and helped make the appropriation happen. We've been having a great relationship with the Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets, and the $500,000 was granted to the food bank, and we spent that between July 1st and October 6th. And so we know we can spend the entire $2 million. In fact, it would give us the flexibility to be able to do forward contracting more effectively. So we are actually contracting with farmers right now for next year's crop. And the timing of the state fiscal year doesn't align well with the timing of how farmers grow food, right? By July 1st, it's knowing how much money we're getting. It's too late to plan forward with that money. So having a stable source at a larger number would give us the opportunity to have a larger impact and the consistency for the farms we're working, both large and small. Also, someone asked about multiplier. Every purchase of local food grown locally has a 60 cent multiplier. So for every dollar we spend, and Vermonters being Vermonters, it brings $1.60 of economic activity to the state. I won't go over the asks again because you've heard them a couple times, and I know that they're in the record here.
Help us understand just a little bit better though on these asks again about what you got last year.
Sure.
That's very, very helpful to us.
Yeah. So the food banks asks of a total of 5 million is 2 million for Vermonters feeding Vermonters. And last year we got $500,000 in one-time funding. $2 million in one-time funding to directly support our network partners. Last year that was $1 million in one-time funding. And we're seeking $1 million in base funding for responsive readiness to work with Vermont Emergency Management to be prepared for both natural and man-made disasters. And last year we got no funding there. That would
Welcome to the party.
yeah.
We
That
did the
would
same thing,
need
we
to
did.
be base funding because we can't make the operational changes, not knowing that the funding is going to continue year after year. I also wanted to point out that, Leslie Wisdom testified. Thank you, Leslie. There's a 3 Squares working group in Vermont with the advocacy organizations and the Economic Services Division. They do a great job. They really do a good job of outreach and of coordinating with all of us. We all have the same mission, right? We want to make sure that everyone in Vermont is getting the food that they need every day. So I just want to say kudos out to our state partners.
What do you got? What would you say your organization is buying from Vermont? I mean, we don't, we'd love for every bit of it to come from Vermont, but
Right.
just
So we are spending this year. We'll spend probably 1.5 to 1.75 million.
Yeah.
In Vermont produce. So in addition to the state funding, we also use some of our philanthropic funding. And I'd love to actually.
you have to. We're gonna get everybody in.
Okay.
It's an important subject and.
But I do want to turn it over to the folks who are seeing what's happening on the ground. And I think we'll have Emmett Mosley here from Feeding Champlain Valley, CVOEO. And also Bob Chappelle from Chappelle's Potatoes. And so why don't we start with Emmett?
Yeah.
And we'll let Bob.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
John.
All right. Are we doing okay on time?
Can I just go? Yeah, go
Read my
ahead.
whole thing? All
We
right.
got to talk the hook here. He'll get you if you're too long.
All right. Yeah. Feel free to jump in at any questions. I'm like the Forrest Gump of Vermont Food Insecurity. I've worked at almost all these organizations doing all these jobs over the years, so I could speak to a lot of different areas here. But thank you to the committee and to the Food Security Council for inviting me to speak here. I'm here to talk to you about how you can support the work that so many of us are doing to keep our neighbors fed. My name is Emmett Mosley. I live in Lincoln. I'm the Addison County Food Hub Supervisor at CVOEO's Feeding Champlain Valley. Feeding Champlain Valley, CVOEO's network of food security programs across Addison, Chittenden, Franklin, and Grand Isle counties. The network consists of 4 food pantries, 3 food hubs fulfilling online orders for home delivery and community pickup, as well as a commercial kitchen producing hot meals and packaging meals for distribution. In 2025,
Are you doing that to feed people or are you doing it to like a CSA?
no, it's all of our programs are strictly for free. So
Okay.
yeah,
So
your
you're,
commercial kitchen is producing hot meals that are fed on site at the drop-in center in the Old North End, and then packaging and freezing meals that we can distribute through the food pantries, and as well as other sites, cold weather shelters, day stations, and our sort of network of food pantries. So we have a pantry in Richford, St. Albans, the Old North End in Burlington, and in Middlebury, where I'm. So in 2025, our program supported over 12,000 people, and those programs served, folks who are living unhoused in Burlington, to farm workers who are working on dairy farms in Franklin and Addison County, to folks living in all of the rural communities across the state. So we delivered to Hancock, we delivered to Orwell, we delivered to Sheldon, and all the towns in Grand Island. So we've cast a pretty wide net. And I'm here today to specifically ask to support the request for $5 million appropriation that other folks have mentioned for FY27. Like I said, I've worked in the food security field here in Vermont for about 15 years. John and I actually started out right about the same time. And I've worked as a gleaner, so going onto farms and harvesting vegetables before they're tilled in. I've worked doing 3 Squares outreach work, home visits. I worked as a chef, an educator, a delivery driver, administrator, and now sort of a logistics supervisor. I've sat in people's living rooms to help them scan all of their Medicaid receipts, to help them get qualified for specific deductions, to increase their 3 Squares allotment. So I've seen that kind of administrative burden up close, which I think is why the request for extra funding to provide that administrative support is so key. And I've been fed meals at people's when I show up to deliver food. I end up eating dinner. So a lot of up close experience here. And I think one trend that I've witnessed throughout my time in field is a sort of steady progression from food pantries and meal sites being considered an emergency backstop. Something that was meant for an occasional disruption in life, a job loss, medical emergency, family transition, to year upon year, they become more and more baseline support for people. So as John was saying, they're economic support. And I think that trend is really tracked with the steady demise of kind of cash welfare payments through other types of programs. So the folks we see are really seeing us to meet their monthly food budgets every single month. According to some research that was done by Dr. Meredith Niles at UVM across 2024 to 2025, but 95% of Vermont households who utilize food pantries like ours have somebody in them who is working, in school, disabled, or retired. And about 70% of our food pantry visitors are also receiving 3 Squares benefits. These programs really overlap and complement one another. And I think those numbers just kind of underscore the reality that those of us who work in the field see every day. That the community members who we serve are simply relying on us as part of their monthly budget that we see. We see folks, the same people every single month. So once you kind of come around to that way of thinking about it, I think it becomes kind of incumbent upon us to be providing people with the healthiest, most nutritionally dense, and wherever possible, locally produced food. Because this isn't a quick stop, that someone's going to hopefully get out of quickly. It's really something that people are relying on every single month. So I think the really hopeful thing about this trend is that we've actually built a lot of capacity within the charitable food system to provide these types of really healthy and nutritionally dense food. So in 2025, Feeding Champlain Valley spent about $100,000 on local produce, meat, and dairy across our sites. About half of those funds were passed through the various programs like Vermonters Feeding Vermonters and some of the other direct network payments. So we spent those funds on, at producers sort of at every scale. So we buy from some of the largest food producers, Monument Farms in Addison County, Maple Meadow Eggs, to some of the smallest. So Firefly Fields in Bristol, 2 Acre Farm. We purchase CSA specifically to serve migrant farm worker households. They're able to grow crops like epazote, jicama, items that people really demand, but that we don't really have access to here. And at this point, we are distributing about 300,000 pounds of produce through our network in 2025. And we'd really like to see more and more of that be sourced locally if possible, because in my career I've seen the engagement of our agricultural community. I've seen farmers who are themselves struggling donate produce, invite us into their fields to harvest, make space for us in their coolers to hang on to food so that it doesn't go bad before we have a chance to pick it up. And I feel that those folks really deserve to be paid a decent wage for the support that they provide us all. So, yeah, we can just wrap it up there. Appreciate your time and I appreciate your consideration.
Being you've been through the gamut, as we
Sure.
said, what for Vermont through winter time? Because, you know, from spring to fall, obviously we have produce and all. And so during the winter months, who do we rely on there to see produce as far as?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of our producers have gotten much better at growing, growing specifically for storage markets. Folks who are, I know if I can probably speak to it a little bit better than I, but I mean, in terms of we're still distributing Vermont grown sweet potatoes, from shells, carrots, onions, a lot of the staple crops that we want that have a good shelf life, that are really accessible, that everybody basically knows how to cook with, are things that we can produce in large quantities.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've been in the field, that's good with that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And in terms of like, just from a person who helps operate a food pantry, a lot of those crops are the things that we really want, because the turnover doesn't have to be quite as quick. There's less waste because they have a longer shelf life, and it's an easier sell for a lot of our clients. I mean, there are plenty of people who want to be eating arugula and fennel and all kinds of different of the wide, amazing variety of produce we can have. But I think that those staple crops are still kind of the backbone of sort of that we want to keep in stock all the time. And that's a lot of stuff. Meat, potatoes, eggs and milk. I mean, that's our single biggest food line item for all of our pantries, is making sure that we have eggs and milk for people. All
Poses a question. Milk, for the last 10 years, it's been whole milk, and should be 2%, 1%.
Sure.
Have we leaned back now toward more whole milk? And
yeah, I mean, we buy both, but I would say whole milk is more popular. So we distribute probably twice as much whole milk as 1%.
Good.
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Ready? All good? Yeah. Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jerry.
Thanks for offering us all this time.
Thank you for coming. We're nothing without you.
Okay. So, my name is Bob Chappelle. I'm a potato farmer in Williamstown, Vermont. We've been doing this for a little over 50 years. I had a life before I became a potato farmer. I was sort of came down the technological ladder, engineer, math teacher, down with potato farmers.
How many acres?
I'm happy with what I'm doing. Right now, we're down to 25 acres. I should say right up front, my wife and I just turned 80 this past Sunday.
You're just a young man, because Janet, I think, is in her 90s. So do you know Janet? Yeah, Janet
Oh,
Peasley.
yeah, I know
I just
Janet.
picked her up there for a meeting the other night.
Her husband, Bert Peasley, was a mentor to me. I knew Bert very well.
Yeah.
I wanted to be just like Bert Peasley. I started out. We used to be 55, 60 acres. And we'd come down. At one point, we produced about 1.5 million pounds a year. Now we're about half of that.
Why?
Why? Because we scaled back to 25 acres.
Your choice.
Yes. Like I said, we're 80. And labor is becoming a problem.
Yeah.
I could use help, but like dairy farmers, we need help year round, and most of the health programs that are allowed legally are seasonal for 9 months a year. It's like H2A programs. So labor has been a real challenge. I'm one of the Vermonters, speaking Vermonters. I'm part of the food bank program. Have been for 5+ years. I have trouble. I can't spit out exact numbers anymore.
That's fine.
Yeah, I just I'll give you like a 10-year range, and it'll probably be statistically it'll be kind of. I got to tell you this. The game I'm in, Okay, dairy farmers, we all know the wall they're up against, and it's a long, long haul. And, God bless them for, hanging in there. With, produce, in my case, it's a new game every year. And it's a roll of the dice, literally. I mentioned before that I've never bought a lottery ticket in my life. I'm not inclined to gamble, but somehow I ended up in a profession where I'm literally gambling every year. So on 25 acres, so just to give you an idea, we don't get my last paycheck is usually, in June, because we're on like 30-day cycle, but potatoes usually gone sometime in May. And we don't start getting paychecks until October, so we have a dry spell.
Are you a legislator?
Am I? No, I was on the select board. I said,
Yeah, we know that, we know that gig too.
yeah. Okay, so, anyway, the food bank offers, forward contracting. You've heard that? It's really unusual in the produce. We roll the dice, grow a crop. The problem is and it's really a huge market now. And I'm a little drop literally in an ocean. But it's not just, there's a lot of potatoes produced in Aroostook County. It could be in Idaho and in Canada. It affects the market. And the chain stores, we've delivered to back when they were still in business, Grand Unions and Price Chopper for a little while. Hannaford's for the most part, from Barrie up to the Canadian border. The food.
Are you doing that? I apologize for
Go
jumping in, Bob. Are you doing that delivery or are you contracting with a CSA or
We're literally the Jack and
Yeah,
Jill
you're
of
doing it
all
all.
trades.
Okay.
We do everything. We
Yeah.
do our bookkeeping, change the order, everything. And my wife for years was the truck driver, which was great. Because that allowed me to, be in the packing stores we were packing. At one point we were packing and delivering somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 tons of potatoes a week. And that's a lot of, it's not like strawberries. I mean, 50-pound bag of potatoes is 50 pounds, but it's not as much, you don't get as much as you would for a pint of strawberries. So,
right?
Yeah, and then we tried to get somebody to deliver using our truck, but didn't work out very well. Within a month, we had complaints that, for example, in Hanford stores, we only had 9 at the time. It's a lot, but it's a finite number. And then we got complaints about this friend of ours that was doing the delivery who wasn't as nice as my wife, who could tell whoever, whatever, basically, no, you can go to hell, but with a smile on her face, and everybody was smiling when she left. This guy did not have that
Bedside manner.
yeah, bedside manner. And so, and now I'm doing the delivery myself, which is a problem because when I'm not there, things don't always go smoothly. But this forward contracting is very unusual and it's very important to us. And the pricing is fair. Like I said, if the market's down because of supply, that's where the chain stores and the wholesalers are, because it's a money game. And so our experience has been very good with the food bank. All right, and then just to add on to what Joanna and Liz, is that correct? We're talking about Leslie, is that okay? Sorry. we have, one full-time employee. I used to have five, but they're just not around anymore. And, they want to do what we do, which is everything. And, so I'm dependent on, part-time help. And I've had several part-time people that, I've had to, cut their hours back, because we suffered dramatically in this drought. It's the first crop failure I've had in 53 years. We lost 80% of the crop. And, so, I'm out of potatoes now. And I had a contract with Food Bank that I really couldn't fulfill. And it was a contract. All of my potatoes went to Food Bank this year. I had nothing for the Hannaford's or the wholesalers. Anyway, this particular woman needed some help. She was suffering from food insecurity. And to an extent, my wife and I are too. We're here, we're just, money, you understand, there's a fixed amount of money that I decided we're going to do with it. She, this applied and everything, it was very difficult for her. And it's very, she needed these benefits of 3 squares, SNAP, offered. And so up until we got involved with Food Bank, our potatoes were going to the stores. All my neighbors knew who I was. My neighbors, an extended neighborhood. I go to a parts store and say, you Chappelle, and but there's a big part of our neighborhood population that depend on Food Bank, food shelves that they serve, and SNAP. I feel real good about our product getting into those hands to those people. So, let me just see, I think I'm pretty good there, and I know time's getting short here.
Thank you, committee.
Just one, do you have any young farmer that's seeing what you're doing and wants to,
Well, I met
maybe
with
take it
my
over?
lenders yesterday, or sort of we're trying to get back into the games one more time. This is the problem with where I am. There's so much money thrown out there. Easily have gone through this. I know like 3rd and 4th generation farms, just 1 year can wipe you out.
Oh, yeah.
We literally have $100,000 in this crop, and we get it's going to be about 100,000 out of it. But that's just going to pay back the line of credit. That doesn't pay the bills or the labor. But I got off the track.
Well, do you have anyone that is looking?
Oh,
to
yeah,
take
so
over?
they suggested I start getting serious about, okay, old age is creeping in here.
Don't
I
believe
have a lot of
Don't believe
longevity.
them.
Huh?
Don't believe them.
Yeah,
You're doing fine.
my parents and grandparents and same on my wife's side would all live well into their 90s and were productive to the end. I want to die with my boots on. I have no intention of backing off. Just hope I die, fall off the tractor rather than get run over by it. That'd be a better way to go. But no,
Depends on how quick.
yeah, we're trying to see if we can carry this on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Has everybody had a chance to say what they wanted to say? We want to thank you all for coming in.
Thank you.
Very
Appreciate
much.
the time.
And,
The attention.
thank you very much. We heard what you said. Thank you.
Thank you.
Committee